What I want to do is today basically just to go through a little bit around content planning, thinking about who your ideal client is, and then thinking about the types of content that you can put out there. A lot of this information, obviously I'm not an expert in this area, but I've been having to practice and learn a lot in this area. So a lot of this information does come from various marketing gurus or whatever you'd like to call them that I've been following recently, and also a few online courses I've been doing. So I've tried to collate it and push it right down. What we'll do is we'll go through the workshop, and then we'll go to a breakout room where we'll create our own content plans. What I want to encourage is, if ideas pop into your mind whilst I'm talking, then just write them down, because that's what we want to do, is start to create almost like a flow of content. So what we'll be covering is who your ideal client is, the main services you offer, teach them how to do what you offer for themselves, 4-pillar marketing, 7 types of posts for ultimate engagement, macro and micro content, and then we'll be getting started on the content plan. And we'll be talking about how to continue to get your ideas to flow, because you'll just start to scratch the surface of a content plan today, but then you'll find that you start to naturally flow and more ideas will come. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll go through any sort of questions, as well as how you can continue to get feedback from the people that you want to be looking at your content. And then we've got our breakout rooms where we'll be growing our own plans and sharing ideas with each other. So it's great because we're going to get extra opinions on our content plans, which is quite a rare luxury, really. So you've got your notepads and you've got your pens. So we can start getting creative. So what I would like you just to do on your piece of paper and your notepad, and I know you might have already done this many times in the past, but is to create your ideal client. So it doesn't need to be a picture like that. It can just be a stick man, or it can be, something a bit more. This is just a brief outlook of who the ideal clients are that you're looking at. Some people say to really niche this down and be like, well, they should be 43 years old and they should have this title and they only work in this sector, etc. But from my experience, that just doesn't work for all industries. So really be kind to yourself. Think about roughly, what that person does as a job, or what their ideal title would be. What sort of platforms. So I'd have a picture of the person, think about who they are, I can give them a name, say Dave or Tim. Think about what job titles they might have. Think about their sort of age bracket, which location or area, and if that's completely global, put global. And then the company size. Is it someone who's a solo consultant? Is it someone who has a business of 50,000? Who are your ideal company, what's your ideal company size? And then just put a little bit to personalize them. So who would you actually enjoy working with? A lot for me, I enjoy working with other people who appreciate learning, who enjoy knowledge sharing. I enjoy working with companies who offer remote working, for example. So think about those things. Then next, on the left panel of that person, have you done that then? So that was quick. Okay, so anyway, after that, we would then think about what platforms they're using. So you have next to them, what platforms, where are you going to be finding them? Are you going to be finding them on social media networks? Are you going to find them on YouTube? You can even find people through YouTube channels and then look on LinkedIn for them, or Facebook. Are you going to find them on Twitter? And what I would recommend here is pick 2 to 3 of your top platforms that you would like to concentrate working in. Don't try to do them all, because I've done this. I've sort of tried to work with 5 or 6 platforms. And as you'll probably already know, it just doesn't work out, because you'll end up spreading yourself too thinly. Remember, with all of these platforms, your content can be repurposed across them, but I would still say just concentrate on building up 2 to 3 platforms, the ones where your clients are most likely to be hanging around in. And a lot of the time that will appeal to their age bracket. Then think about what their goals and values are. So again, that could be the ideal type of person you want to be working with, and the ideal client. For example, I've put they'd look to increase the sales, they want to build the business, they want to have a good reputation. And then you're thinking about which areas they might be struggling in. So their pain points. What frustrates them? Where are they struggling? At the moment, a lot of people, their staff are on furlough. How are they going to help them to return? They might need better sales staff who can really push the business in COVID-19. They might need to outsource their work because they are absolutely flooded with business and they're just trying to do everything themselves. This might be their frustrations, but then you want to start thinking about their objectives. So think about when you contact them, how are they going to object to what you do? So, for example, they don't want to waste their time speaking to you because they didn't even have the time to do that. They want to do everything internally. They wanted to reduce their external spend. They believe that they have people with the skills internally, or whatever the excuses will be to not work with you. Start to think about those objectives, because it starts helping you to overcome those objectives with them. And when it comes to content, start creating content that sort of jumps over those hurdles. So next you want to think about, and that's something, that avatar is something you can constantly adapt and change and recreate as you go along, because as any business, it's lean and you're constantly having to change and pivot and flex and all sorts. So, but that hopefully would something you can build on. And then it's thinking about what are the main services that you offer. So what's your delivery method, first of all? So your delivery method, is it one-to-one coaching? Is it that you deliver consultancy over a period of time? Is it that you would deliver a program of work, or you would have, sort of give group coaching? Do you do coaching on Zoom with sessions with groups of team members? Would you offer to sell their service and help their business to grow by being a consultant on a contract basis for a company? So start thinking about all the different ways that you deliver what it is that you do. And then you want to think about your real expertise. So for me, for example, I've put down the areas that I like to be a bit of an expert in, or that I'm constantly learning and constantly looking to evolve in, and that I like to offer to my clients. So for me, it's sort of tips around sales. I like to help people with sales strategies, recruitment strategies, organic recruitment strategies, how to attract the best talent, technical tests, how to overcome them, how to get a role that's right for you. So helping candidates to shine. So these are the areas that are my expertise, and it's just jotting down what are the areas that are yours. And like I say, you will continue to build on these areas. The next thing I just want to point out is with content, if you think about all the greatest leaders out there, what they actually do when you look at their content is that they pretty much give away their top paid services. They pretty much give it away for free. They teach people to do what they teach, to do what they have very expensive training sessions for. They teach them to do it for free, but they just teach it through micro sessions, so micro content. So if you think of Tony Robbins, he has a mastermind, he has a Date with Destiny course, and you can go to Florida, go on Date with Destiny. It's 6 days long, and you basically redesign your life. That costs, with your flights, with your hotel and everything, you're probably paying £4,000 to £5,000. And you can probably just pay quite a lot less than that as well if you do a bit of negotiation. But he actually gives away a lot of that stuff for free. If you go through YouTube, loads of videos on YouTube. If you go through all the different blogs and articles, it's all on there online. He's got books. So it's almost like you've got the free versions of content. So you're giving it away for free, but through micro versions of content. Then you've got the slightly cheaper, someone can buy your book, or they can download an article, or they can, sort of macro content, longer pieces that for people that still can't afford your training and courses. And then you start to go down to, a webinar charging £99, consultancy, 6 sessions of consultancy, or however it is you prefer to work. But I would say, to begin with, you're going to draw people in almost like a funnel by giving what you do away for free and teaching them to do it for themselves. So help your clients have the information to do it for themselves. Separate the spenders from the time wasters. So rather than constantly trying to close sales with businesses, you'll be able to separate the ones that would take away that information and do it for free anyway, to the ones who would rather spend with you. And then work with companies who trust you and who will recommend you. So something you'll find is the more content you put out there, the more you'll position yourself as an expert in your field, and the more that people will start to trust you, see you as the go-to person when they do have the money for your services. And if they don't ever have the money or they never pay for your services, they could become an ambassador of your business. So you might find that they start sharing your content, they start loving and commenting and messaging you and, chatting to you, and they might never pay a penny, but they will recommend you to other people. So that's something I say is look after your ambassadors. You really want to look after those people because they make the biggest differences. And you can even set up a small affiliate program for your ambassadors. I will give you 10% if you introduce me to any clients or if you recommend me, and that gives them further incentive. 4-pillar marketing. Now, I think you're both going to be aware of this one, but 4-pillar marketing is basically different types of content you can put out there. So you've got your video that you can put out there on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, which really is a way of showing who you are and getting people to connect with the person behind the brand. It's the quickest way to do that with video, and it's the quickest way to attract the right people as well as detract people who would potentially never want to work with you once they get to know you. Long form story that is relatable. So writing longer posts, articles, writing for a newspaper or a blog. And then you have your call to action, which is just putting out there, this is what I do, this is how much it is, these are my services. Many people forget to do a call to action. And then you've got your social proof, which is sharing any sort of recommendations that you've had from people, or any case studies, any reviews. Video reviews now are really taking off. I've seen companies asking for a video review from a company, which is very shareable. And then, so we have these types of posts you can put out there, but then there are posts for engagement, the different types of written posts or video posts, or that you have. One is the teaching post. So where you're teaching, you're giving advice, you're showing your expertise. The other is an entertaining post. LinkedIn is becoming a little bit like Facebook. And personally, I don't mind. I think it's great because I don't want to be really professional with my clients. I want to enjoy working with my clients. People now are more keen of seeing who is behind the brand, seeing the personality. So if you want to share something funny or something that's made you laugh, then that's okay to do every now and again. Show that you're a human being. Sharing behind the scenes, again, blooper videos, they go down really well. I saw someone the other day dragging their dog who was too hot and didn't want to walk anymore and would only walk for a treat. That was very funny. Behind the scenes, let people get to know you. And then you've got inspiring posts. So you could write a post that's going to inspire your followers or inspire your network about somebody or a lesson you've learned yourself. Also representing your audience is one type of post where you say what's on everybody else's mind, but maybe they haven't wanted to say it. Sometimes that can be controversial. Something I would say is make sure you're democratic. Please do not get too political or religious or anything like that, because it doesn't always go down well. And an engaging post. So polls are really taking off on LinkedIn, maybe taking off a little bit too much. So really think about the questions. But polls or asking for people's thoughts, sharing something and asking if they've ever had a similar experience or what they think of something. People love to chat on LinkedIn, especially if you put hashtags, people will find it. And then prove what you do. So say how a piece of work you've just done has made you feel, show that you care, and make it genuine. So it's just a few more ideas for the types of posts that you can be writing. And then macro content to micro content. Macro content is a piece of content that's over 10 minutes. So it could be a podcast, And podcast, I highly recommend either taking part in podcasts or running a podcast, because it's a fantastic way to speak to your dream clients, or it's a fantastic way to speak to people who you really want to learn from. But I would say make sure it's a podcast you're extremely passionate about, otherwise you won't enjoy doing it. So podcasts, that gets macro content. YouTube, how-to videos, you can do sort of 30-minute, 1-hour YouTube videos, presentations, articles, writing a book, an in-depth service review from someone. These are all macro pieces of content. And then what you want to do is slice it up, reuse those bits of content and create micro content. So rather than redeveloping the wheel, you could develop, from your podcast, you might find there's loads of great nuggets of information there, and create various how-to 1-minute videos that you put on Instagram, or the typical post with 3 top tips to sort of using little emojis to really give out that top value content in a short amount of time. You're sharing a client recommendation screenshot, and providing quick, painless solutions for your ideal client's pains. So the beginning of a content plan starts a little bit like this, and it will be a lot messier on your piece of paper. So I think about my main categories. So you want to think about the main categories, so those main services that you offer. So let's say you've got put them into circles or put them into squares, or just write them down. Then you'll have subcategories under those. So I've put one of my main categories, I've put down, for example, recruitment is a main category of what I offer. Then the subcategories under that, which are many more than this, but I just don't want to fill up this PowerPoint presentation, are things like talent attraction, company branding, staff retention. So these are your subcategories. So you have your main categories. Off each main category, you'll start to think of subcategories that you can really start to talk about and to go into more detail. And then off your subcategories, you will start to think of actual posts. So I've gone off main category, recruitment, subcategories, talent attraction, company branding, staff retention. And then I've started to go through all of the different posts I can write for those subcategories. I thought, okay, those 10 mistakes you didn't know you were making when it comes to staff motivation is one for staff retention, for example. One for sign up to my free downloadable appraisal for HR managers. That could be under staff retention. 3 top reasons people approach me for a new job. That's under staff retention. And there are many more. And then company branding, how to attract talent through brand. Before and after with a company I've worked with. People love before and afters to see, this was their Glassdoor before and their Glassdoor afterwards, or this is where they were and this is where they're at now. Get the reviews, really paint a picture. And then talent attraction. So I've gone through, 3 fails to drive away talent, 5 of the most sought after benefits. So it's sort of making sure in the top of your post or the top of the video, whatever, that you're making it really clear what you're going to give to them in a short micro content amount of time. If it's macro content, so like podcasts and things, you can write down, I've got one there for company branding, podcasts with top company founders of where people want to work. So let's say I started interviewing companies like Google and Microsoft and finding out about what they do to make it a great workplace. And through that time, I'm really accelerating that podcast with some great names, as well as I'm learning a lot myself and drawing in the right network. So hopefully that's got you starting to think about it. What I'd say before we go to breakout is let your ideas flow. So you might have this just on a notepad or something now. Notepads, I would say it's dangerous because you can lose them. I did a content plan for the year, at the beginning of the year, and I don't know where that notepad is. So I would say the best place I've got mine is on Evernote, and you can download that for free. And I've got my own notepad of content, and it means I can just add content when I'm on a walk or whatever. I think of ideas and I put them into my subcategories. Post-it notes are really good if you work in one place all of the time. You can stick your post-it notes up on one wall, and just your phone notes. So I've got Apple Notes there, as well as a notebook, but just make sure you don't lose it like me. So let those ideas continue to flow. And when you've got it, write it down because it will disappear. So the last thing I just want to cover is to listen to your audience. So ask them something I'd never done. Someone suggested I did the other day was to actually reach out to my ideal clients and ask them what content could someone with my background provide for them that would help them. And it was actually really interesting. For a start, I thought they would ignore me and not really be interested. They loved the fact I was actually interested in their answer. And the people I did speak to, they really opened up and were, sort of giving me various suggestions. They gave me loads of ideas for posts. So speak to your clients, even if you're not working with them, reach out to people and say, just wondering, how can I help you through my content? What would you like to see from me? And a lot of people will actually get back to you and give you ideas, which is great. See what's already being liked and shared by your ideal clients. Keep a record of that and continue to write those ideas into your content plan, because you can do your own spin on these sorts of things. Gauge what content doesn't do well. And also when people give feedback or when people do comment on your content, they'll usually draw out a certain part that really resonated with them. Maybe those are the bits that you then want to go into a bit more detail. For example, I've found people love more information around marketing, branding, sales. Companies love that in regards to recruitment. How can they really stand out? How can they shine? So that's an area that I'm now constantly talking about all the time with people, helping them to do it for themselves. And then if they want to use my services, then that's a win-win for me. A good website to have a look at is askthepublic.com. So askthepublic.com is actually a website where you can search, let's say something like well-being or recruitment or whatever. Let's say you put well-being in there, it will actually come up with the top questions that people ask Google around well-being. And that in itself will give you loads of content ideas, because you'll see what people are actually looking for around that subject area. And I've been doing that pretty much for all of my main categories as well as my subcategories. And that's given me loads of post ideas in itself. So I hope that was helpful. And now what I'd like to do is actually look at creating a content plan. And hopefully you've got some doodles down already, so we can start doing that. So we've just come back from the group breakout, and hopefully you're able to pause it whilst we did that. But what I would say is what we did in the group breakout during that time was that we went through what our main categories were. So the main categories of content that we want to be talking around. So the main services that we deliver. Then we went into subcategories off of the main categories. And we started to just look at 1 to 2 of those subcategories and start to look at actual posts under those subcategories. So one of the subcategories, for example, was all around mental health at work. And it was basically looking at then how you can help keep your staff in work. And we started to look at how you can recognize the signs of mental health, how you can support your staff coming back off of furlough, how to reduce anxiety, how to introduce a safe place to talk. And we started to brainstorm, all of these different types of posts within that subcategory. So hopefully that's something that you can do at home as well. And you'll find that your content plan starts to become very messy. It looks a little bit like this. Where you'll have your subcategories, you have your content ideas coming off of those, But what I would say is no matter how messy it gets, make sure you keep it in one place. So don't keep it somewhere that you're going to lose it. And make sure that you just let those ideas flow. So keep the ideas going. And with time, you'll gradually build up and up that content in your brain. You'll start to naturally think of ideas all the time. You're out for a walk and you'll be thinking of ideas. And I would say try to be consistent with your content. So let's say you have a campaign or something that's going to run soon, and your campaign is for a book release. Then I would say figure all your content around that book release. Let's say there's 2 subcategories and the book is on confidence. You want all of your content to be around confidence, how you can improve that, and you'll start to attract the right followers. You'll start getting a really engaged network. And then you just push out that you're now sharing, you've now got a book for sale, and that content has led up to that sale of that book. So then you'll have a nicely warmed up network ready to buy. The last thing I would say is if you have any questions, then please ask me after this, and feel free to put it within the comments below. And please do follow Startup School if you'd like to take part in any of these sessions. We have interactive workshops every week. We have free sessions that are run by various experts across sales, marketing, business startup, business growth, investment, all sorts, automation, and they're all ran every week within a Facebook group, and then they're shared on this YouTube channel. So thanks a lot, everybody. I hope that was useful for you, and I hope that you have some fantastic content plans that you start to grow from now. I will speak to you all soon.